My story takes place in the late 1970s. My husband and I were living with my father at the time, with our 4-year-old son and 1-year-old daughter. We lived with my father temporarily while we saved up money to afford our own place. Eventually, our hard work had paid off, and we were able to afford a trailer home, or as they are now called, a mobile home. We were excited to finally have a place to call our own. However, the excitement was soon short-lived. The trailer was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, so my son and daughter were able to have their own rooms. They were still little, but we knew they would appreciate having their own room as they got older. We were able to fill our new home with furniture and all our belongings in one day, because our trailer was by no means big, and we didn't own that much stuff, so we were able to spend the night in our new home, the day we got the keys. After a long day of moving, my husband fell asleep on the couch in the living room. I decided to put the children to bed in their rooms, before waking my husband up to go to bed in our room. I walked my son to his room and tucked him into his toddler-sized bed. I then carried my infant daughter to her room and placed her in her bassinet. Everyone in the house was quickly sound asleep, except for me. So I was startled when I suddenly heard a voice, coming from the living room where my husband was sleeping. I made my way from the rooms back to the living room to see if my husband had awoken, but when I got there, he was still sound asleep on the couch. I looked out the windows to see if anyone was outside our trailer talking, but there was not a soul in sight. Then I heard the voice again. It was a deep, growl tone. It was way deeper than my husband's voice, and it didn't sound like him at all, yet I heard the voice coming from the direction where he laid. I slowly crept over to him, and could see that his mouth was in fact moving. He continued to growl and speak an unrecognizable language in that eerily deep tone. I got so scared that I shouted for my husband to wake up. At the sound of my voice, my husband jumped up from the couch and shouted at me, asking where our baby girl was and if she was okay. Before I could answer, he ran to her room and found her fast asleep in her bassinet. He exited her room with a sigh of relief. After asking him what that was all about, he proceeded to tell me that he had a horrible dream, that a voice was telling him to take the bassinet with our baby in it and throw it against the wall. He began to cry at the thought of him hurting our baby and said that he didn't know why he would dream such a horrible thing. Back then, my husband and I weren't ones to believe in the supernatural, so we couldn't help but rack our brains trying to find a logical explanation. After I told him about how he was sleep-talking, we couldn't help but wonder if it was the work of something sinister, and possibly demonic, that was the cause. I don't think my husband slept a wink that night, and neither did I. Fortunately though, after that first night, my husband no longer had any other terrible dreams like that, and I no longer caught him sleep-talking or growling in that deep, scary tone again. However, just as we thought that was a one-time occurrence and began to feel at peace in our new home, things took a turn for the worst. One night, my husband and I were laying in bed asleep when I was suddenly awoken to the feeling of something staring at me. I reluctantly opened my eyes and strained to peer into the darkness of our room. Once my eyes were adjusted, I was relieved to find my son standing at the end of our bed staring at us. I figured he had a nightmare or simply needed something, so I asked him what was wrong. However, he didn't respond to me. I continued to whisper his name and ask if he was okay, but still, he was unresponsive. So I decided to turn on the lamp on the nightstand next to my bed, which revealed a terrifying sight. My 4-year-old son stood completely still, unfazed by the light. As I leaned forward, closer to him, I was horrified to see that his eyes were rolling to the back of his head. His mouth was also moving in a way that looked like he was trying to say, "Mom," but only a faint squeak came out of his mouth each time. My husband woke up from the lamp now illuminating our room and gasped in horror at the sight of our son. My husband immediately picked up our son and took him back to his bed. When he came back to our room, he told me that he didn't wake up our son because he heard that it can be dangerous to wake up someone while they were sleepwalking. I didn't question my husband's actions because I had no idea what to do in that situation, other than stare in horror at the state of our child. My husband told me not to worry and that our son was just sleepwalking, but I still couldn't sleep that night, as my brain was filled with worries about what horrifying thing would happen next to my family. I hadn't yet considered that our new home could be the cause of these strange occurrences, but I soon would.